It's a bit like you having your breakfast before the show, isn't it?
It is not. I only eat solids once a week. Obviously, I've got to keep this figure somehow. I bet they weren't stuffed crust, were they?
I bet they weren't, no.
Charlotte, thank you. We'll see you later. Very good morning. You're watching Sunrise. Stephen Dixon with you live through until 10 o'clock this morning. As you can see, Henry Kelly is here to take us through the papers in a couple of minutes. Good to see you, Henry.
And you.
Before we have a chat to Henry and go through the papers, let's have a look at the rest of the news with Charlotte.
Thanks, Stephen. Israel's preparing to deport the activists and crew members of an aid ship which had been bound for Gaza before being boarded by the Israeli Navy. This morning...
Got Henry salivating this morning.
Oh, God, it's disgusting, isn't it? Reminds me of the time when I once did a snuff.
Yes. Dear me, let's kick off with the Times,
yeah,
Henry. And
because just before we start, let's say that all...
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we've spent a long time, all through the... Within, what, 5 or 6 years, we might start to come through the other side of
it's to be hoped so.
This.
But now, do we all remember the election night fiasco of certain counts? We certainly do.
Absolutely. Isn't because, I mean, when we were talking to her the morning after, and I saw when I was climbing into bed in Brighton at 8 o'clock in the morning, Eamon was returning officers to manage.
Of course. Some of those returning officers were the men holidays when there were no trains running. Now, according to the Mail on Sunday, you know...
We're at the end of half-term week, where we know there have been a lot of people, despite what British Airways have tried to do and keep flights going, there are a lot of people who haven't been able to get away
at all, yeah. It's very, very bad PR. And of course, inside, needless to say, there are photographs of the...
the comment we had in the last couple of days, because obviously we're approaching the end of those cabin crew.
Well, presumably so, but also...
City, isn't it? You can sort of turn up about 10 minutes before your plane takes off. It's great. Now, you mentioned schools and religion in Charlotte's bulletin.
Charlotte's news bulletin mentioned that we do.
But we're not a Christian country anymore, are we?
Well, you see, we are.
But you're back
More to
in an hour. We'll see what else you can dig out of the papers by then. Henry, thank you. The more immediate sport for you now, here's Charlie.
Steve, thank you. Good morning.
Let's go check on some of the emails. What are people saying, Charlotte?
Well, we've had one in about tennis, actually, and Francesca Schiavoni's outfit. Jack Halton in Bristol says, someone ought to thank Ms Schiavoni for winning the French Open, dressed like a tennis player and not like a lap dancer, beach bum or paint factory explosion. Very refreshing, which is interesting, actually, isn't it? But
yeah, well, reference to the likes of Venus Williams, I think, who was wearing rather revealing outfits earlier in the tournament.
Yeah. Oh, well, keep your thoughts coming through. News at sky.com. Text. Looking at the rest of the news for you this morning is Charlotte.
Thanks, Stephen. Israel's preparing to deport the activists and crew members of an aid ship which had been bound for Gaza before being boarded by the Israeli Navy. Not as far as 41 slices. That's
a bit disturbing, though, when he looks like he's going to be sick. It's just put you off having a margarita.
For a long time, I'm sure.
Oh, dear, dear, what a waste. Charlotte, thank you. See you later. Very good morning. You're watching Sky News Sunrise. Stephen Dixon with you live through until 10 o'clock this morning. And as you can see, Henry Kelly's here to take us through the papers in just a couple of minutes. Morning, Henry.
Morning.
But first, well, the paper review in just a moment. But first, Charlotte has the rest of this morning's news.
Stephen, thank you. Israel's preparing to deport the activists and crew members of an aid ship which had been bound for Gaza before being boarded by the Israeli Navy. You like pizza, I guess, or maybe you're having pizza for breakfast.
Ooh, if you are, you've got to have it with salad cream.
Is that the rule?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. I'll tell you what, I bet those guys from Spellbound don't eat a lot of pizza.
I bet they don't. No,
what did you make of that, Henry?
I think they're brilliant. That's the first time I
think Amanda's probably right, isn't she, in saying get them at the Olympics.
Yeah, but the trouble is that...
Through right over the judges, which was amazing.
There you go.
They were aiming for Pierce.
They were our younger days.
They were aiming for Pierce, but they missed. Yeah.
Anyway, Henry, let's have a look at the papers and
a few
kick
new
off
ones
with
now.
some BP.
Yeah,
it can't afford to take any risks.
No,
it's better to put his hand in its pocket. Yeah, take on it all, though, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, but it's very honest. The people there are saying, hey,
the Independent,
the Independent,
more Observer. This is fascinating. The Olympic legacy, which of course was be a difficult job to pick those figures up, but it needs to be done, doesn't it? It really does. But I'll tell you what. To more immediate sport, the World Cup.
Yeah, let's go to the last one.
Very briefly in the Sunday Telegraph.
Wonderful story in the Sunday Telegraph. Cameras down to that little village and interview that woman. Honestly, that's what we should be doing. Good story.
Good to see it. Getting a bit of attention that on the tweet, Charlotte.
It is indeed, and from one celebrity person, actually, Catherine Jenkins, the opera singer. I've just been having a look at Twitter and she's posted a message saying, watching a report on Sky News about the Ryder Cup at the Celtic Manor. Wow, it's going to be such a massive thing for Wales. So there you go, you never know who's watching.
No, so no pressure, Charlie, for the rest of the sports headlines.
Fantastic. No, I'm going to stay at one tone at the moment. Not even going to try and raise an octave or two.
No, I wouldn't. No, definitely not, Charlie. No. Let's have a look at the rest of the news this morning. Here's Charlotte.
Stephen, thank you. Israel is preparing to deport the activists and crew members of an aid ship which had been bound for Gaza before being boarded by the Israeli Navy. Congratulations to them, worthy winners. They're amazing.
Oh, fantastic, aren't they? Absolutely fantastic. They say opening the Olympics in 2012.
That'd be brilliant. We should have them in here. They could launch themselves over the sunrise desk, couldn't they?
Yeah, I know what you're thinking, Charlotte. Well, see you later. Thank you. Before we have a look through the papers, let's get a check on the rest of the news this morning with Charlotte.
Stephen, thank you. Israel is preparing to deport the activists and crew members of an aid ship which had been bound for Gaza before being boarded by the Israeli Navy. This morning...
Do you think do they have these sort of competitions in any country other than America?
I don't know. It doesn't seem right. It can't be good for you, can it, eating that amount of pizza in one sitting?
No, apparently I'm being told it's big in Japan.
Oh, is it?
That sort of thing. I guess hot dogs or something. Oh, dear. Charlotte, thank you. Let's have a look through the papers then with Liz Hunt, assistant editor. Serious news, of course, in the Sun. It's bizarre that Transocean, although mentioned in the first couple of weeks after the disaster happened, as you say, has been pushed to one side, and certainly, I mean, President Obama made a big line for BP. Even the fact that he's calling it British Petroleum, which it isn't even called that anymore, is it, technically? It's going to be interesting because, I mean, whether they would be liable for any of the costs involved. I mean, I'm sure BP would want to try and claw back some of that money if they possibly can, because it's going to cost a fortune. It's frightening figures. To the Observer, it's interesting in all of this as well that people have not... I mean, I hate to say it because I'm from Cumbria, so you don't understand too biased, but
okay.
You know, it is a different world up there. It's not. To the Times, looking at IVF abortions, taking us through the papers. Let's have a check on the sports headlines. Here's Charlie. Charlie, thank you. Let's find out what you've been saying this morning on the emails.
Well, actually, it's the pizza eating that people are talking about. That guy who was the champion by eating 41 slices in 10 minutes. It was rather horrific to see, actually. I've got another one, actually. Do you want that one?
Yeah, go on.
The other one was just saying, Brian says, those pizzas are gross, but how much did he actually eat? It seems that a lot was missing as it went round his mouth.
Oh, well.
Very nice.
It's not a very nice thought, is it?
Sorry to put you off your breakfast.
Maybe that doesn't count. I don't know. Charlotte, thank you. Stay with us here. Let's get a check on the rest of the news this morning. Here's Charlotte.
Thanks, Stephen. Israel is preparing to deport the activists and the crew members of an aid ship which had been bound for Gaza before being boarded by the Israeli Navy. Worthy winners, I think. They did really well.
Fantastic, aren't they? Absolutely fantastic. Saying that, I had Stavros Flag. Let's have a look at the rest of the news this morning with Charlotte.
Thanks, Stephen. Israel is preparing to deport the activists and the crew members of an aid ship which had been bound for Gaza before being boarded by the Israeli Navy. This morning...
Talking of sports, Charlotte, we've had some contact, haven't we, from Catherine Jenkins this morning about the Ryder Cup heading to Newport later on this year. And she rang up just at the end of last hour. We couldn't speak to her. We didn't have time.
The plane had to go, so we were foiled.
We were running out of time. She was getting on a plane. But she's very excited, isn't she, about the fact that this could be a real boost for Wales in the coming year. And that's because the Ryder Cup... Let's get some entertainment news for you with the journalist Ashley Pearson. It'll take us through the showbiz stories in the newspapers this morning. Great to see you,
as always. Nice to see you.
We've got to kick off with a bit of BGT.
Yes, Britain's Got Talent, for all of his many contributions to television, of course, this show and many other programs.
It's great to get an award for making yourself so much money, isn't it? Page 3, and who's having a big party?
Oh, well, of course, Cheryl Cole, according to...
When she hooks up with him, and now so much fuss that this is split up. It's true showbiz life,
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
Well, there as Ashley Cole, let's be honest. But he is very successful, multi-millionaire.
Charisma.
Over a relationship. If I split it with someone, it takes me months and months and months.
Well, it has been a few months.
Fabulous Welsh operatic-style singers, and not Catherine Jenkins, who has been ringing us here on Sunrise this morning. As we were telling you earlier on.
How lovely of her.
Which was very sweet of her.
Lovely.
We
She's
nearly
gorgeous.
spoke to her this morning on Sunrise.
Oh, we're that far away. Just went into an ad break, unfortunately. But the news of the world's got something about Charlotte Church.
Charlotte, and really make sure the kids have as normal an adjustment as possible. So they're going to actually share a home for some time.
That's going to be tough, though, isn't it?
Well, I would think so, but it certainly goes a long way towards proving that the split...
Wouldn't happen with Jordan, would it?
Well, you know, I have to say...
There will have been others, but I remember sort of renewing their wedding vows was Ronan Keating.
Yeah, you know what? I have to say...
Oh, that's an interesting... Well, we can keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will. Ashley, thank you.
You're
Let's get a quick check on the sports headlines with Charlie. Steve, Harley, thank you. Ashley, thank you as well. Stay with us here on Sky News. Lots still to come. It's Saturday Live with Adam Bolton in a couple of minutes. Sunday Live even. Let's have a look at the rest of the news this morning. Here's Charlotte.
Stephen, thank you. Israel is preparing to deport the activists and crew members of an aid ship which had been bound for Gaza before being boarded by the Israeli Navy. The